Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the first ever virtual Nevada Basin Range Exchange. This virtual BRX gathering acts as a continuation of a conversation, and we acknowledge that we will not be able to get to all the topics that we could from this larger conversation this go around. Today, we will delve into two topics, unity and recovery. We chose these topics as we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic during rampant economic inflation and recession, and in face of political polarization during an important election year. Not to focus on the negative or become overwhelmed, but rather to share our successes in the face of adversity, find our commonalities, and build a stronger peer network of artists, cultural workers, and community partners for the benefit of ourselves and our communities. Today, I am joined by Michelle and participating Nevada Arts Council staff. Michelle and I manage the Community Arts Development Program area at the agency, which supports Nevada's nonprofit arts and cultural organizations, municipalities, public institutions, and communities with a variety of programs and services aimed to build vibrant communities statewide. We work to elevate the arts and cultural infrastructure statewide, expand the skill set of Nevada's creative community, cultivate organizational capacity, facilitate professional networking and relationship building within and between communities to increase access for the arts.
The Nevada Basin to Range Exchange was launched in 2019 as a pilot project adapted from the Kentucky Rural Urban Exchange, a creative leadership program that strengthens professional and intercultural competencies while building connections across racial, economic, cultural, and geographic divides. BRX 2019 brought together over 50 community stakeholders under the mission to support, promote, and celebrate statewide collaboration through arts, culture, and community. During the 2023 gathering, we will focus on 4 projects and partnerships that all exemplify the program's core mission. Those projects are PS Nevada, I Love You, NV Art Stops, Head to Toe, and Coyote Visits. Between 2020 and 2022, we all embraced adaptability in the face of adversity, and in recognition of the progress the virtual world offers, we are excited to gather not only today, but finally next April. We'll be sharing more of those details at the end of today's convening, as Erica and I will provide more information in a follow-up email. For now, we want to concentrate on the best part of BRX, meeting our peers and making lasting connections for the betterment of ourselves, our community, and our state. The Nevada Basin to Range Exchange was launched in 2019 as a pilot project adapted from the Kentucky Rural Urban Exchange, a creative leadership program that strengthens professional and intercultural competencies while building connections across racial, economic, cultural, and geographic divides. BRX 2019 brought together over 50 community stakeholders under the mission to support, promote, and celebrate statewide collaboration through arts, culture, and community. Between 2020 and 2022, we all embraced adaptability in the face of adversity, and in recognition of the progress the virtual world offers, we are excited to gather not only today, but finally next April. We'll be sharing more of those details at the end. Right now, we're going to focus on polarization, conflict, and the prospect of unity. So let's go back to March of 2020. We were all scared, we were uncertain, and we all suddenly found ourselves focusing on the things that were important, our family and our health. Now fast forward to 2022, and I think we can all agree that the inability of American society being able to come together, even in the face of a global pandemic, seems to not only validate the nation's divide on ideologies, it also appears to have accelerated social divides, strong political disagreements, and people simply refusing to agree on basic facts. The COVID-19 pandemic appears to not only have worsened divisions in the United States, but increased conflicts without much resolution in sight. Did you know that at least 60% of people surveyed throughout Nevada say their communities are more divided than before the virus hit? And that overall in the US, 88% of people surveyed nationwide believe that we are living in an era of unprecedented political division, civic unrest, and economic instability, all of which isn't good for our democracy. But what truly threatens the democratic future of the United States is that its political conflict rests within the intense combination of ethnic, racial, and religious contention. More often, other countries experience just one or two of these divisions, but the United States ranks at the top of all categories. These conflicts also reinforce each other because of our political, racial, and religious divisions and how they overlap. It is what analysts label as negative partisanship, which simply drives political division by anger and fear. There's also a large number of people who see politics in apocalyptic terms and view an opposing party not just as competition, but as a threat. And social media has not helped. So why emphasize the divide, Michelle? I thought we were focusing on unity. Well, the reason why we bring up this division is because it serves as a great analogy for Nevada's northern and southern divide, as well as the misconceptions between rural and metropolitan areas. It also demonstrates how polarization still drives many stereotypes, myths, policies, and the jurisdiction of zoning in many, if not all, of our communities. Here's some other harmful stereotypes that emphasize some of this division. Las Vegas has all the resources. Rural Nevada only produces folk art. The arts are only for liberals. Only large organizations receive funding. EDI is ruining the arts field. And smaller towns don't want to be inclusive. This is a map extracted from an article on the 538 website. As you can see, this graph also provides a checklist of where we are on national issues. If you click on the link itself, it's a live graph, so you can also visualize where people are by party affiliation. What this graph doesn't emphasize is that at the very beginning of the pandemic, we all had many things in common. We were scared, we were uncertain, and again, we all found ourselves focusing on the things that were most important, our family and our health. And then, for whatever reason, this was supposed to be our time of reopening and recovery. We were suddenly, once again, all segregated by class, race, healthcare, and again, politics. So are you ready for some good news? Hashtag me too. Social tolerance is on the rise as well. And a part of that is because of the education and a growing number of people who tend to express positive views about diversity, inclusion, and access. And a majority of those people, shout out to the millennials, are the ones who intentionally seek out to practice new ideas and models that demonstrate tolerance. Millennials also view diversity and inclusion as a generational assessment rather than a tactical one. So here's a question to ponder. How can the Nevada Basin to Range Exchange stabilize all of our overall efforts to encourage unity throughout the state of Nevada? How can we all come together to listen, to honor each other's generations, preserve our history, while helping to rebuild our nation's integrity? Here are two examples. The Nevada Humanities Program Gallery created an exhibition of images and poetry by innovative thinkers throughout Nevada to shine a light on the need to come together as a community, made up of individuals, cultures, and different identities. This past July, the exhibition examined unity as a concept to help viewers build a shared future for our families, communities, and a nation despite our many differences. Unity, Community, Family, and the Future featured an array of local artists. Now, we'd like you to really think about projects that serve as impactful engines, such as this one. What does impact look like throughout your community? How can BRX participants integrate art or a tourism feature into your community? What type of project can integrate unity through healthcare, education, or Nevada's economic recovery? Another example is Braver Angels, an organization made up of volunteers who desire balanced dialogue between conservatives and progressives at every level of leadership. The organization also works throughout communities on college campuses, community centers, to engage in discussions towards a shared understanding of differences. These are some questions that we'd like you to ponder if you decide to attend the in-person convening in April 2023. So the first question, what is the biggest struggle facing my community? What haven't I done to help my community come together? And last but not least, we are happy and proud to announce that the Nevada Basin to Range Exchange 2023 will be in Ely.
We all just talked about unity and how we can better come together. Why is this so crucial now? Our state, our community, and us as individuals have been ravaged by the COVID-19 pandemic. Not only did the pandemic control every aspect of our lives for 2 years, but the repercussions of that control will be one which we feel for the next decade. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating impact on America's arts sector. While employment conditions improve for artists and creative workers, the arts are recovering slower than other industries, and COVID continues to disrupt in-person programming. So, how do we come together as artists, community workers, and public servants to revitalize, reinvent, and reestablish ourselves for a stronger future? The COVID-19 pandemic devastated Nevada's economy. Our state's leading industries lost millions of dollars in revenue, and hundreds of thousands of Nevadans were out of work overnight. Throughout 2020 and 2021, our communities continuously navigated complex and confusing mandates around closing, reopening, scaling back, and protecting employees and patrons. While experts report that the economy is in a state of rapid recovery, largely attributed to millions of dollars in federal funding, with Nevada's gross domestic product outranking that of the nation's in the first quarter of 2021, the arts are not being prioritized as much as they could be for our state's economic and social recovery. Arts organizations were the first to close their doors and the last to open them. During the first months of the pandemic, a survey of arts and artists organizations conducted by the Americans for the Arts found that the state had already lost almost $2 million in revenue from arts activities. Despite this loss, in 2020, the arts ranked third in Nevada's economic sector according to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis. The Bureau also reported that arts and creativity productions contributed to $8,052,992,000 and was 4.7% of Nevada's GDP, contributing to over 30,000 jobs. This contrasts just a year prior, where in 2019, the arts contributed to $10,657,409,000. The arts are the driving factor behind many of the other leading industries in our state, how we develop an innovative workforce, as well as the draw for people for why they want to visit or live here. Not only are the arts so intrinsically tied to our state economy, but they are also tied to our well-being. The arts have the power to help our most at-risk populations, provide resources for children, elderly, veterans, mentally ill, those with addiction, as well as so much more. The arts give us the medium from which we can negotiate difference, navigate difficult discussions and social issues, and help us to mediate and meditate on our own issues. We found ways to come together and overcome adversity. Despite being forced to shut our doors to those we help in a time when they needed it the most, across the world, artists moved their work online and to the streets. Beautiful examples of this have come out of outdoor street-side concerts and new public artworks. Despite desperately wanting to be together in person and as a community, we obviously now, more than ever, rely on virtual spaces. It was through moving online that many of us found a way we could still share our love of art. We are still seeing the drastic effects of being forced to close, the loss of revenue from not having arts generating income for the state, our communities, our organizations, and our artists. Recovery in the arts has been slower than other areas of the economy, but there is hope. According to the Americans for the Arts in May of this year, 77% of art attendees are already attending or ready to attend in-person programs as of April 2022, up from 55% in January of 2022. Our communities have been suffering from not having in-person spaces to connect. And while we may be back in person, we have continued to lean on online meetings and digital technology. We have lost friends, family, and neighbors over this period. We've lost our time, our income, and so much more. But we've also learned that coming together can take many forms and is critical to our social welfare. We will continue to feel the effects of COVID-19 long after we wish to put this unprecedented and horrible time behind us. But now, more than ever, it is critical to set aside difference, to find unity, to share our resources and build strategies for the holistic wellness of our communities, to revitalize, reinvent, and reestablish ourselves for a stronger future. My counterpart has led us in a discussion of unity, and I have presented one of the major reasons why we need to focus on unity and recovery. I briefly dived into the impacts of the pandemic has had on our communities, both the devastation and reinvention of how we conduct ourselves. Now we need to understand and delve into these questions. What resources do you need to help you and your community recover from the pandemic? How can the Nevada Arts Council help you and your community in long-term recovery? As you think about these questions, please consider examples of the practices we've already learned from this period, the needs of your larger community, not exclusively for artists and arts organizations. What impacts can you make? What resources do you have? And what resources do you need for long-term recovery success?